Hey, what's going on guys? I am Ajay from eeehub, and in this video tutorial you are going to learn what is the naming convention and why it is important. Then we will learn what are the naming convention for variables in Python. In the previous session you have learned what is the variable and what are the IDN type function in Python. So let's start the session. So, what is the naming convention? It is a set of rules that is used for identify variables, classes, function, and other entities of language. So, Python developer makes some naming convention for Python language, and that rule must be followed while naming this identifier like variable name, class name, function name, and so on. So what is the purpose of this naming convention? So this naming convention will help the other developer to understand your code easily. If you are following the same rule of naming convention of different variables, classes, function, then other developer will easily know. The other developer will easily know, or they can easily understand your code. So that is the main purpose. You should follow the naming convention, and also if you are following the naming convention, then your code will be simple and easy, and other developer can use your code very easily, and they will prefer your code. Now in the next slide we will learn what are the points, what are the rules for naming any variables. We will be learning what are the naming convention for class, function, and other entities of Python language in this course. But as of now you should focus what are the rules for naming a variables. Okay, so let's move to the next slide. So here I have mentioned 4 points, and these 4 points you have to keep in mind while naming any variable in Python language. So first point is only use ordinary letters, numbers, and underscores in your variable names. What it means? While naming any variable, you must use only ordinary letters from A to Z, or number and underscore. Apart from these 3, you can't use special character like dollar, hash, at the rate, and you can't use special character. Also, you can't use space, and need to start with a letter or underscore. You should always remember that your variable name should start with a letter or underscore. It should not start with a number. So this is the rule for naming a variable in Python. That's okay. So let's see this first point in command prompt. So I have opened the command prompt. Now I will open Python, that is the interactive way. Okay, so now I will name a variable. So I will create a variable, and now I'm going to name it. Okay, so I will name in this variable I will use only ordinary letters. So what are the ordinary letters? From A to Z. It will be a capital or a small, it doesn't matter. Okay, so I will use like box. Okay, and I will assign some value to it. This is first variable. Okay, so I have created one variable with ordinary letters like box. Okay, and now I will create a second variable with ordinary letters and numbers. So I will write box1 equal to, this is second variable. Okay, So again, the Python compiler doesn't throw any error. Now I will try to name, I will try to create a name of a variable with underscore. So I will write box underscore, okay, and I will write this is third variable, okay. Again, it doesn't throw any error. Now I will try to name a variable with a special character. I will write apart from underscore, okay. I will write box and then I will use a special character as a percentage, and I will write this is fourth variable, okay. See, now as I use a special character in a variable name, Python compiler throws an error and it is saying syntax error. So what is a syntax error here? We are using a percentage or a special character in a variable name. Now I will try to create a variable name with a box. Like I will try to create a box and then I will put a space. After that I will write 1, okay. So what I did here, I want to create a variable with a box 1, and right now I'm creating a variable and I will put a space between this box and 1, okay. So let's try it, okay, and I will name it as this is fifth variable. Let's see what happens. Again, it is showing that it is an invalid syntax. So how you can name a variable if the variable contain 2 words? There are some ways. You can use a camel case like box 1, okay, and you can name it as this is sixth variable, okay. Or you can use underscore between these 2 words like box underscore 1. This is this is 7th variable, okay. Now we have used a special character and we had already see that it will throw an invalid syntax. Again, we have used some space between the name of the variable and we see that it is also invalid syntax. Now I will try to name some variable with which will start from an integer like 7, okay, 7 box. I will try to create a variable with which will be starting from a number, okay. So 7 box, and this is 8th variable. See, it is throwing error because in the rule it is clearly mentioned that a variable name must be start from underscore or a letter, okay. So if you are not using if you are not using a variable name with capital letter with letter or underscore, then it will throw error. So you will see we had named a box 7, we had used integer here, that's why it is throwing error. If you wrote down the variable like box 7 and you are using integer value at the end, then it will not throw any error. This is 9th variable, okay. So I hope now you have a clear understanding that what you should use in your variable name and what you shouldn't use in your variable name, okay. Now I will explain the other point which is present on the PPT. Let me show you, okay. So second point is you can't use reserved words or built-in identifier. Okay, so what it means, in Python language there are some reserved words, and I had made a video on that. I will put that video link in description, so have a look. So what this point try to say here, like you can't name any variable that is reserved by the Python. For example, the print is a reserved keyword. Similarly, input is also reserved keyword. So while naming any variable, you can't use print, okay, and you can't use class, or you can't use input, because these are the reserved words or reserved identifier by the Python. Let me show you in the command prompt so it will be clear for you. Okay, so I will use a print, and I know that print is a reserved keyword. Now I will create a print, and inside the print I will assign some value. This is 10th variable. Okay, let's see. See, you had created the variable, but when you try to print the value of this created variable, then it is throwing error. Okay, because this is the type error, and it is saying that a string object is not callable. Okay, so you can't call this print function, because in the Python this print is a reserved keyword and it is reserved as a function. So that's why here it is throwing an error that you can't call the string as a function. Okay, so you can't use a reserved word while naming any variable. I will show you the second example. I will use a input that is also a reserved keyword, and I will write input, and I will write here this is 11th variable. Okay, and again I will try to print what is inside this variable. Okay, see, again it is throwing an error like type error and string object is not callable, because this input is a reserved function inside a Python, and you are trying to call this input. That's why it is showing that string is not a callable, because in the Python this input is mentioned as a function. So I hope now you have a clear understanding that why you should not use the identifier to name any variable. Okay, now I will try to now move to the third point, that is use all the lowercase letter and underscore to separate words. So I had already discussed this. Okay, if you are naming some variable and your variable name contain two words, then you can separate this word by using underscore, and this case is called snake case, and you can use this while naming any variable which has two words. Now fourth point is Python is a case sensitive programming language. What it means, when you create a variable uh, that has a uppercase like eeehub and another variable with a lowercase, then Python language will make two variables. One is eeehub and another is small eeehub. Okay, so let's see this in an action in a command prompt. Okay, so it will be clear for you. So now I will create a variable with a lowercase. I will write down eeehub. Okay, and I will assign it as first variable. Again, now I will try to locate the memory location of this variable, that is eeehub, so that it will easy for us to understand that Python has created two variables or not. Okay, so the location is 3308760. Now I will create second variable eeehub with a lowercase, and I will assign a value second variable. Okay, and now I will fetch the location of this variable. See, this is a different location. This location is at 680 and this is 960. So in the back end, Python has created different variables. Okay, because the Python language is a case sensitive language. So I hope now it is clear, all the points is clear. And if you have any question regarding this session, you can ask in the comment section. Do like, share and subscribe. Thank you so much.